Hello and welcome to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast on a Tuesday. We're a day late. Very sorry. Diego Lorijn is here to join me, Kiyan Sobhani, to go over a very eventful weekend in La Liga. A bunch of big games, a bunch of big score lines that affect the table. Las Palmas 2, Getafe 0. I'm going to go over some of the results because they're interesting. Las Palmas 2, Getafe 0. Girona 2, Valencia 1. Athletic with a big 4-0 win over Rayo Vallecano. Real Madrid, comfortable win without half their team over Granada at home. Then a bunch of draws involving Sevilla, Villarreal, Real Betis, Almeria, Mallorca, Alaves, Osasuna, Real Sociedad, Cadiz, Celta Vigo. That's 5 draws right there. And I guess, here's it's a minor talking point, but I think it's worth mentioning, Diego. Barcelona also had a very comfortable win over their best friend, Atletico Madrid, who gave them a nice early Christmas present. Their biannual Barcelona gift, just wrapping them with bow ties and gifting. Actually, it's Diego. I think it's more than biannual. It's like 3 or 4, right? Because they give you the 6 points home and away. They also give you a free player at the end of the season. At 4 because they take a player off your hands that you don't want as well. So nice. I guess we should give some credit to Barcelona because they did have to put the ball in the back of the net once. They did that. So, congrats on that.
I don't have enough. I need some water. It's very salty. I need water badly. My God, need some water. Stat.
Just drink that.
Dehydrated.
That espresso looks good, but that's probably dehydrating it a little bit. I saw you drinking an espresso earlier.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
So,
How was your weekend?
I was hoping that being a day late, that saltiness would have kind of dissipate or evaporate, or what happens to salt? It dissolved a little bit by now, but it's still very present, man.
To be quite honest, I think you're misunderstanding what salty is. I'm not salty. Where do you see the salt?
Very.
I'm just going over the facts. When you go over the historical, factual things
listen to this
in the encyclopedias of the world.
Minor talking point.
Facts without bias.
Oh, best friend. Oh, easy win.
Are they not your best friend? What did I say that was so wrong?
Well, everything. First, that it wasn't an easy win. Second, that they're far from being our best friend, mind you. They have held us up in trial. Like player transfers that you say are freebies are far from being freebies. We pay an exorbitant amount of money for players that don't work out, who we then, if anything, we allow them to go back home and return on a freebie. So if there's anybody doing anybody favors, it's Barca to Atletico.
Wow.
And this win was massive, man. This win was massive. Atletico was, heading into this game, one of the top teams, like top informed teams of La Liga. That's not an exaggeration whatsoever. And it was huge. If for Barca to pick up 3 points, or worse yet, had we lost any points in this game, it would have, if last week I was talking about La Liga lost, it would have been a definitive KO with Girona coming up next, the second hottest team in La Liga at the moment. So it would have been ugly. This was a absolute must win. Not only did we pick up the 3 points, we did so by playing some of our finest football, despite the inability for some to, or willingness for some to recognize that. So yeah, man, happy to get into it, but don't tell me that shit ain't salty that you're spewing out of your mouth at the moment.
It's not salt. I'm just stating facts, bro. I'm just stating facts without any emotion involved. Facts. No, look, for us, ideally, we would have, I think a draw would have been the best result for Real Madrid, because I firmly believe Atletico are title challenge, contenders by the end of the season. I think they're really good this year. So I think both Barca and Barca, for that matter too, they'll be there at the end. So I think Barca, Atletico both dropping 2 points at this juncture of the season would have been the ideal result for Real Madrid. Okay, I'm curious. We can kind of go through the weeds and get into the details of those games and see how you felt. It is interesting because I saw a little bit of Real Madrid in that first half Atletico performance away to Barca. So just the fact that I think the narratives were kind of similar at halftime, that, Barcelona playing some of their best football of the season, Atletico or Real Madrid playing some of their worst football of the season. Second half, Atletico were much better, just like Real Madrid were, but Atletico just didn't have enough firepower. And I think, like, individually speaking, some of their forwards who got into good goal-scoring positions, like Correa, just were not sharp at all in this game. And Barca defended well at the end. But I'm curious to kind of get into the weeds and see how you feel. But I don't know, like, because I saw on Twitter, you were completely rejecting this idea that Atletico don't, just gift you points. You do know the numbers, right?
You make it sound like it's Espanyol. Like, no, I do know that that the last win at the Camp Nou was what, like 17 years ago or something crazy like that.
He's
that
never
doesn't mean that those
away at Barbar. He's never won. 15 times he's gone there. How many has he won? 0. Big fat 0.
Yeah, I again, if I'm not mistaken, I think the last time that they did pick up a win, Ferran Torres scored a goal, and this might be inaccurate. I know it has been a very long time, but don't make it sound like
Fernando Torres, you mean?
Oh, Fernando Torres. Yeah, sorry. El Niño. You make it sound like it's Real Madrid Espanyol. I mean, there is a team that literally gives you guys points. That was a guaranteed 6 points each and every time.
Well, I don't deny that. Espanyol are our allies. But you're denying your alliance with Atletico
because we're not.
Points.
There's nothing but hatred. Well, there's in particular hatred from the Colchoneros over towards us. We at least have the decency and class to applaud them, the entire stadium, when they win the league campaign at our own ground. Some say unfairly so, because of an offside or a goal that was wrongly disallowed. So there isn't that much animosity, I would say, from our way to them, but they're not allies, man, and they certainly do not gift us points. I mean, you just said yourself that you see them as a title contender. Espanyol, when you can't say the same about Espanyol. In what interest would it be for them to gift us points? I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm not even going to entertain this thought, Kiyan. You know yourself damn well that they're not coming to our ground to gift us points. Give us a little bit more merit, in this case, to Xavi and what Barca managed to do after what were subpar performances. Okay, we came off of the qualifying against for the knockout stage in the Champions League against Porto, playing a little bit better than we had in the prior games, but we were far from being the informed team heading into this game, and Atletico was. But on the day yesterday, we showed our better side, and we dismantled Cholo. I guess once again, it's a frustration that he has to continue to live with, and hopefully he will do for years to come. But it's not. Like, you make it, you're oversimplifying and demeriting this win in quite gross manner. So yeah.
Listen, Diego, I think Barcelona.
For somebody that claims that the smart people go on the Managing Madrid podcast, and you guys have such a high football IQ, do yourself some justice.
I don't. Everyone else does. I definitely don't. I don't. Just to put that on the record. I thought Barca played well, but I think they were hanging on a little bit in the second half, but they defended well. It could have been more than 1-0. Lewandowski in particular had 2 phenomenal chances that quote unquote older Lewandowski would have buried. Atletico also hung around long enough that as they were piling on the pressure in the second half, they may have been able to nick it 1-1. It could have gone that way as well. But I thought Barca deserved the 3 points, and they played well. I think it's the big storyline, obviously, like the headline is Joao Felix, and it seemed like so predictable that he'd score against them. I'm curious to know how you feel about this, because he is doing this thing where he's burning the bridge in every conceivable way with Atletico. Like the the bridge has been burned down, but he's gone back and also just chipped away at each side where the land is, and he is just making it bridge proof. It's impossible to rebuild the bridge. He has like snipers there. If anyone tries to rebuild the bridge, he's going to snipe them down. Is that a good strategy, or is that something that could potentially backfire? I'm curious to know where you stand on this.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem that way. He clearly doesn't want to go back. I think you have to. It's understandable. I think it's understandable for all sides. Already before his move to Chelsea, was he displaying his kind of a, what would you call it, like a disgruntlement or an adverse behavior and attitude towards Atletico, the organization or the team, or Cholo. He didn't want to be there, and that became more and more evident with the passing of time. And they shipped him off on a loan to Chelsea. It was sort of his way or his chance to maybe finally solidify a move away permanently from the club. Things didn't work out with the London club. He had to move back, and then in the summer we were seeing the exact same images that we saw prior to his departure to the Premier League, and that was just a player that in the practice already made it very apparent that he did not want to be there. So what do? Cholo, like any manager, doesn't want to have players in his squad that are not committed to the cause. It can be poisonous. It obviously doesn't help when it comes to creating a team spirit, all rowing in the same direction, if you will. So they did what they had to do, and they looked for an option out. Now, throughout the entire summer, we were kind of like, oh man, is this really going to happen? I didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't even want it to happen, quite frankly. I was vocal about that. I had my massive doubts about a Joao Felix who seemed a shadow of himself, his initial self, who had gone through this quite poisonous spell and looked like a lost soul. I think I referred to him at the time, at least in footballing terms. And he made it very clear as well that all he wanted to do was come to Barca. So it was a matter of time, who was going to run down the clock. Eventually, time was on Barca's side because there were no other clubs that came knocking on the door looking for the Portuguese youngster, and Barca won themselves a loan. Now, what Atletico did very well was extend his contract, which was of course running out, and they signed him to a long-term deal. Kiyan, I think you pulled up the contract numbers a couple podcasts ago, but it's like beyond 2026. I think it's signed him to like 28 or something.
Yeah.
So that plays in their favor, but what are you going to do? It seems that right now Xavi's very happy with him. The team is happy with him. He's happy to be there. He's had a great start, had a bit of a dip, now has made a resurgence against his I was going to say former squad, but it's still technically his, he's still an Atletico player. They're paying his wages, but he clearly doesn't want to move back to Atletico. I can only imagine a scenario where he finishes off the season. We'll see in what state. We'll see how the impact that he has had on the game, on the team, where the team finishes in the league standings. But I see a scenario where he will most certainly go back. And then it's up to negotiating between Barça and Atletico to, or I should say specifically between Deco and Mateo Alemany, to see what Barca can get from.
There you go. Gifts from you have a sporting director in Barca, and then you have one there with your best friend. This is corruption, man. This is unfair. This is unfair. It's us. It's Real Madrid against.
Hey, don't forget the Mateo Alemany.
Friends over at City,
at Mallorca, at Valencia. He's a professional. They hired him for a very good reason. I'm still quite flabbergasted, or like I'm confused as to why Barca let Mateo Alemany leave. I don't know if it was a wage thing, and we know he had, of course, a massive offer from England that he eventually rejected from Aston Villa, I think it was. But it's quite weird and strange that he has ended up at Atletico. Good for them, because I think he's a pro, and he will approach this as a pro. The point is that I can see the scenario, play out where Barca will have to negotiate with Atletico for transfer of Joao Felix. They will say, well, he still has, whatever it is, 5-6 years left on his contract. This is his buyout clause. We want 80 million. And Barca will say, we ain't got that. We ain't got that. We ain't got that. And then England, Saudi, or Barca get their way and we get him for a more reasonable amount. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's interesting. So
it's an interesting case. Yeah.
I mean, you brought up the contract, so that's really interesting because it seems counterintuitive to renew someone to a contract like that, someone who you clearly don't really want at your club. And then you have to ask yourself, why would Joao agree to something like that? Well, I think in Joao's case, it was probably a matter of security for a player who seemed a little bit unwanted in Europe. Like, I don't know, at least this guarantees me money for a few years. And where I end up, how much I play, we'll have to just figure that part out. But I have the contract in the bag at least. I'm putting myself in the time machine, thinking back to Joao Felix in his early days for Atletico when he first signed from Benfica. And that's a player I really liked, even at Atletico. I remember writing about him. I remember praising him, just the way he glided on the pitch. I loved the way he played. I loved the way he carried the ball. I loved the, kind of the bounce and the elegance he played with. He was a very tidy player in tight spaces, a player who could create, a player who could get you up the field in transition, the way Atletico were using him at the time. Then, you kind of fast forward, and obviously, it just kind of goes south with Atletico. And really, if you think about it, going to Chelsea was the worst possible place you could have gone. Chelsea was a shit show last season. Every player was struggling. No one looked good because the team was a mess. There was no sporting vision. It was just a mishmash of players. I mean, I'm thinking of even the fact that we played against Chelsea last season in the Champions League. They relied on Joao Felix to be the guy who's going to bury the goals against us. And of course, if Joao Felix does a bunch of things well, goal scoring prolifically is not one of them. I mean, he's received some criticism from the media even after the Barca game, even from some of our friends and I've been reading it, that's saying well, Joao Felix, this is a one-off game. It was like a revenge game. This is only his second goal. And I thought that was a little bit harsh because obviously he does stuff outside of scoring. But goal scoring is not going to be his strongest point. That's not what he can't lead the line as a goal scorer, but he can be kind of the guy who plays behind the striker, does some of the creative work. So Barca, and you fast forward a little bit, Barca is a perfect place for him. I don't think any team in the world would have offered him what Barca gave him this year. Barca needed help. They were not in a great financial position to sign other players. And they play a brand of football that suits Joao Felix, right? A lot of possession, a lot of the ball, a lot of touches. That's great for him. Now you fast forward again. Let's think ahead. The summer arrives. What's going to happen? Because on one hand, the bridge with Atletico is burned. So it's a situation where Barca will want him. Atletico will want to get rid of him. You'd think that's a natural, okay, this is where he goes. But what is Atletico going to ask? What is Atletico, are they going to say, okay, well, we just want to get them off our hands, whatever, 20, 25 million, take them. Or are they going to be,
no chance.
You don't think that's going to happen? So what's the alternative? Because the other realistic, because I don't think he's going to stay at Atletico. So the realistic scenario, if it's not Barca, is that, okay, well, we'll just bump the price up and his value was higher now than it was a year ago. So we'll get the Premier League teams to bid for him. That's the only other solution that I can think of. What do you think?
Yeah, that's exactly what I think will happen, to be really honest. And, call me a pessimist, but I just don't think that Barca will be in a position to shell out even a 60. I think they're gonna not
60,
go below
I don't think so.
7. No, I think they're not gonna go below a 70 million.
Wow. He's not worth
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Even the papers are reporting 80. The Atletico won 80 million. You wonder where they get that from, whether it's leaked information or whether it's just based on his buyout clause and the years left on his contract or what. But then it's Premier League or Saudi League.
Yeah, but who's gonna pay 80 million for Joao Felix?
Yeah. Well,
Like,
dude, the Premier
teams-
League have got.
Yeah, they have the money, but why would they do that? Like, they can. I don't think that's best bang for your buck. I mean, these guys are like, let's look at City, for example, who can obviously afford anything. Where are they gonna? Why would they spend 80 million and bring Joao Felix? He's not gonna. How much is Joao Felix even gonna play? They have a million players in this position. Then you're looking at maybe the Newcastles. He's not going back to Chelsea. Newcastle, I guess.
Tottenham. You got Tottenham. You got
Tottenham
Newcastle,
was not
you
going to
got
spend money on
Manchester
Joao Felix. No way. But maybe
Manchester United.
maybe you're getting into Aston
desperate.
Villas, Manchester United.
Manchester
Maybe.
United, man, desperate right now to. I mean, and they have been desperate, but I mean, with the way their season is going, you can only imagine how it will end. I mean, they will have to throw their fan base a bone. If it's going to end the way that it started. So I think there will be suitors. I think the money, as you mentioned, is there. An article came out with the astronomical
I don't know what you're trying to communicate.
astronomical. What's another like just insane amounts of money?
You can just say astronomical.
Yeah, I thought there was one beyond that. Anyway, the astronomical figures that they are getting in terms of revenue, TV rights and everything.
Yeah.
It's just on the up exponentially. So, and again, a team with tons of cash in a desperate situation. If Joao Felix finishes the season off in a high, I'm sure they would, grab that opportunity with two hands and throw 70, 80 million in Atletico for Joao Felix, who's still just only 20 something little years old. Like he's still so young, this kid. It's insane.
Yeah, I think look, this has been huge for his stock. I mean, he got a lifeline from Barca, I think, and it's completely changed his value. And that's obviously a good thing for Atletico. So I think all in all, it's a good thing for Atletico that he's playing so well because they still own his rights, obviously. 24 years old, has a whole career ahead of him. Probably, yeah.
I mean, I think it's worth saying though that it's really up to Joao as well. I mean, he certainly hit the ground running, and his appearance, his game against Atletico was phenomenal. It was Joao Felix at his best. But there was a patch there where he kind of faded away into that Joao that that resembled the Joao at Atletico or Chelsea. Like he certainly had a dip that was. I found concerning, I've certainly been converted into a Joao Felix fan, a Joao Felix believer, if you will. But with the passing of the games and the performances that we saw went from más a menos, from good to bad, if you will, as we as we went through in the last podcast, quite in a detailed manner where we were going through the games. Okay, this game was probably Barca's peak, right? We were talking about Betis, we were talking about first half against Madrid, but games that you were like, okay, let's see if Barca can build on these performances. And it just seemed to drop off drastically in a way where you were like, wait, where are all these players? And we were pointing fingers at Lewandowski. We were pointing fingers at some of the players in the midfield, Gundogan as well, for that matter. But I think Joao Felix was one of those players where you're like, wait, what happened to Joao? Like, where's Joao Felix when he started off so well, and the time that we need him the most? So I commend him, and I'm super happy for his game against Atletico, but I hope it wasn't just a one-off where he felt, inspired in the moment to play against his old side and try to kind of, play that game with a chip on his shoulder and prove a point. And now, in the next game against Girona, he's going to fade into the shadows again.
We'll see. I mean, this is the one part, though, I think, because that's a really great point that you brought up. It's up to him as well. This is not a sport that is as ruthless as the NBA, where you can just move players around as if they're just objects and little business pieces and not real humans. But that's why I think he'll end up at Barca by the end, if I had to bet, because he can talk to Alemany and be like, hey, look, man, I don't want to go anywhere else. Just please facilitate this for me. Just make it work. And of course, Alemany doesn't have to do that, but he can also, if Alemany lines up, if we both agree that he's not staying at Atletico, then Alemany can line up a 85 million offer from Newcastle, and Joao Felix can just say no. So what are you going to do? Keep me? So that's why I think going back to Barca is pretty realistic.
What number? What figure? If you would toss a figure,
I don't know. That's the problem. That's the barrier. It's that Barca is not going to pay. What's the maximum Barca would pay? Do you think
40?
I don't think they're paying 40.
50? Maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
I just don't see it. I mean, hey, look, things will change though. I mean, you guys got 70 million in prize money at least from just qualify from the round of 16. That's been something that you haven't had in the last couple of years. Things are looking up financially, I think. Although, those levers have not been bought back and you're still losing some long-term money, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. Who knows? Maybe Joao Felix just turns in stinker after stinker after stinker from now until the end of the season. And Atletico like, oh shit, now we're screwed. Now no one wants him. So I don't know. All right. Well, let's table that. Maybe it's too early to have this conversation, but I thought it would be fun at least.
I'll tell you what. It is fun. And I'll tell you what, my stance will change on Atletico being a friendly club, and I'll stand by your side and yell it out at the skies, at the clouds, that Atletico and Barca move hand in hand if we get Joao Felix for less than 30.
Think about the history, man. They took Luis Suarez off your hands, who Barca were trying to get rid of because he's playing with painkillers every day.
He went for free. David Villa went for free.
Was it the contract expired?
Yeah, it was like the end of the contract. I mean, he okay, fine.
Well, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong. For some reason, I thought it was something else. No. I mean, look, I was saying it on the spot too, so maybe I misremembered. I thought it was if it was a free agent, I guess it's a different story. Well, what was the other one? What was the Memphis situation?
Memphis, I want to say like he. I mean, we got like maybe a couple of mil, and by that I mean like no more than 2, literally.
Well, I mean, you were just trying to get rid of him, so.
Yeah. I'm not saying that,
Well, what about case, and then the whole Griezmann thing was just favor after favor, right?
Well, not really. In the end, we paid more than 120 mil with the fine. Like, again, like they dragged us through courts on that one, and I think that we settled for like an additional 30 mil, and in the end, it cost like 150 or something. Thanks, Bartomeu. Another one of his brilliant moves.
I mean, even that Champions League elimination you guys brought up on Twitter that Atletico knocked you out of Europe. I'm like, I think they tried to let you win that, but
Luis Suarez was 9 million.
9 million?
According
Jeez,
to
man.
Transfer Market.
They give you 9 million for a player who can't run?
Hello. Suarez did some goods for them, man.
He did. He helped them win La Liga.
He won La Liga, exactly.
Well, in hindsight, but at the time, you were trying to push him out. You didn't want Suarez. He was one of the old guard you wanted to get rid of.
Koeman didn't want Suarez, correct? Again,
right.
I feel that the favors lay heavier from our side to theirs. I don't think.
Well, this is your form of payment to them. This is in exchange for the free points in La Liga. You're gifting them, they gift you. You scratch their back, they scratch your back.
David Villa went for 2 million.
Unbelievable.
Favors, bro. Favors.
Unbelievable.
You're talking favors. If anything, and again, man, like entire Camp Nou applauding them winning the league campaign. I mean,
now go through Diego.
I don't understand the animosity of the Colchoneros towards us, man. We have been nothing but gracious. Memphis went for 3 million.
Now go through the history of Real Madrid and Atletico and Real Madrid and Barcelona. See all the favors that are non-existent between the two clubs. You'll get your answer. You guys love each other. You guys just are off in a different room. I don't know doing what. Real Madrid's just fighting this uphill battle against all these. It's one team versus. It's like the alliance of Barca, Girona, Manchester City, God. Atletico Madrid, Seferin, Negreira. It's out of control, man. Out of control.
Oh my days.
All right. What else did you want to talk about? Anything on your list?
Let's talk a little bit. Well, I mean, the news just has come through that Ter Stegen has decided to get surgery.
Yeah, that's big.
So he'll be sidelined for a long time. And on that note, I wanted to talk about Inaki Pena before the game.
Yeah.
In the pregame, I think in a pod that I did myself last week, Kiyan, I was talking about Inaki Pena and how highly I rate him, and how I felt that the 3 sticks, the Barca goal was well protected under Inaki Pena. Mm-hmm. And I think, at least in the game against Atletico, you saw that he did those words justice. I thought he had an excellent game, a great performance, kept out 2 goals, like 2 sitters, or sitters, I should say. I mean, Memphis had a brilliant free kick that he kept out in spectacular fashion. Then I think it was Correa. Was it Correa, like deep in the second half, that had a chance?
Yeah. Shot it right at him.
True. But so maybe Atletico wasn't really the test for him in that sense, as he didn't have to make massive crucial stops. But I think, this could really be a moment where Inaki Pena puts his name on the map, now that Ter Stegen will be out for long term. I don't know. I haven't read the article, but he'll be out for an indefinite period.
I saw somewhere 2-3 months. I don't know where I saw it. Okay. But I don't know for sure. There's just something I saw somewhere. Inaki Pena looked good.
I thought Araujo looked good.
Koundé looked good.
How good is Frankie de Jong, my man? You that love your midfield players.
I've been a huge Frankie fan for a while, man. I think he's awesome. Yeah, he's great.
I think the game against Atletico was maybe the best, the best showcase of the Barca midfield. With all respects to Gavi, but with him being out, it was between Frankie, Pedri, and Gundogan, who has been solid, but I still think he has room for improvement to get to his, let's say, City self. I liked what I saw very much, in particular in the first half, of course, what I saw from the Barca midfield.
Can I transition this?
Please.
So, yesterday, Jude Bellingham picked up his Golden Boy Award. And I was trying to figure out, like, what do I say about it? What do I say about him? And I couldn't really figure out what to say or what to do about it, other than just say he won it.
You can go on some rant and make up stuff about the Barca PR machine that is yada, yada, yada. And
well, even the Barca PR machine was not strong enough to... I think, no, let's be honest, man. Because this was so... I mean, he swept this one away. It wasn't even close. Even the Illuminati guys were like, hey, guys, I think this one... We should stay out of this one because it'll be too obvious we exist if we take this one away from Jude. But that you definitely know they're plotting a way that, like, okay, guys, if Messi scores one more penalty for Inter Miami, we got to put him number one. And he takes the Ballon d'Or. You know, they have that yearly Copa America now. You know, if he wins that, it's over. It's over for the rest of us. He's going to probably win.
America's yearly? No, sure.
Pretty much. I mean, it's almost every year. It's like every 2 years. For every Euro trophy that Cristiano has to win, there's 8 Copa Americas that Messi gets to play. And he gets to play against like Saudi Arabia and like whoever's invited to Qatar, whoever is not even in South America, they invite and then they applaud him when Di Maria carries him to the final. It's out of control. No, but seriously speaking, I want to go back to Bellingham. I think what makes him special is that, you know, you see him carrying Real Madrid in a way that you go back to the summertime. The fact that we sold Benzema, the fact that we didn't replace Benzema with a star striker. We just brought in Joselu, and I don't need to go there and explain why Joselu is not cutting Benzema. And we're all like, man, we're doomed this season. Who's going to score unless Rodrigo really chips in? And of course, Vinicius has missed half the season. Rodrigo only started scoring a couple games ago. More than a few games ago. And you look at the fact that Bellingham has 15 goals in 17 games. No one saw that coming. And, I tweeted kind of the fact that he dominates so many statistical categories outside of scoring as well, including defensive one. Like, he leads the league in blocks. There's the other aspect of this is that he just, in addition to carrying and getting his offensive numbers, he does so many of the little details, and he also makes all of his teammates better. And I think there's a leadership aspect to him that we haven't really seen in a long time at Real Madrid. And in a different way, he's kind of like the Sergio Ramos of our team now. Not in the same stereotypical kind of like way that Ramos was, like that, you know, that combative, fearless figure who barks and bites. But Bellingham is like the kind of leadership of like when Joselu finally scored against Napoli. He runs over and takes him to the crowd and points to him. He's just good vibes all around, man. He's a humble guy. Everyone likes him. The fact that you can come into Real Madrid, barely speak any Spanish, and he's still struggling with that, according to him and Carlo Ancelotti. He's not really picking it up. But somehow is like the guy that everyone looks to. He's the alpha of the locker room. Everyone, there's like a hierarchy. He's number one. I don't know how that happened. It's incredible. Like there's just an aura about him that I haven't really seen at Real Madrid in a long time. He's got to be like the most lovable superstar we've had in ages. At this level, to be loved this much by everyone, it's really special to have him. So that's just kind of me trying to figure out what to say about him, because like I couldn't really figure out what to say, because everything we just say the same. I felt this way about Messi and Ronaldo, by the way. It's like every game they just do so many great things. You're like, you don't know what to say anymore. Like, okay, Messi did he dribbled past 8 players and scored. Cristiano scored his 5th hat trick in like a month. Wow. Okay, cool. What do we analyze here? Like, he's just on a different level. With Jude, it's kind of the same. Like, I'm losing words. So now I'm talking about his aura and his leadership. So there you go. Jude, congrats on the Golden Boy.
Sure, yeah. Congrats for finally picking it up after losing out to Pedri and Gavi. So third time lucky, and he deserves it. I think this is quite truly the season where he's captivating headlines and fans internationally. I mean, you talk about him endearing him to the Bernabeu loyal. I would go so far as to say he's that kind of player that also rival fans admire, respect, and would want to have on their team. He's certainly special in all the aspects that you just mentioned, right? And in all those regards and facets, like obviously his approach to the game, his playing ability, whether it's goal scoring, whether it's vision, and presence. It's you have a player here that is in the making of becoming a superstar. Right now, he's a star, but I think in a few years we'll be talking about a superstar with things go his way. And
I mean, what else does he need to be a superstar right now? I think he is a superstar.
Well, no. A superstar. I think you earn the right to be branded a superstar once you win collective, so individual and collective trophies. Right now, he still has everything to prove collectively, and that's what the point I was trying to make is that to the detriment of Barca fans, I think we're in the making of a superstar here because I think he will go on to win both individual and collective trophies, meaning Balones de Oro and Liga, God forbid, Champions League titles. So I think that is what the difference right now and between, say, a star, a bright young star, and a superstar that is,
So you're talking about like consistency over years of like
consistency, but also, I mean, at the end of the day, the silverware, right? This is his first season with Real Madrid. At Dortmund, he never managed to get over the Bayern hump. Obviously, they didn't win Champions League or European titles there neither. So it's putting all of that into fruition. We wouldn't be talking about Michael Jordan as the GOAT or a superstar if he hadn't won any NBA championships, for all of the MVPs that he might have won. I think a superstar, a true superstar, is also gets his entire team over that hump of winning chips and silverware and trophies that at the end of the day, at the end of a season, or at the end of a career, really defines an entire player. Yeah.
Well, I think we can both agree he's on that trajectory anyway of like if he continues this, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see the point. I mean,
sorry, Kiyan. Just, I mean, you could argue this, and I'm sure there'll be people commenting in your comment section talking about me maybe being salty or trying to take credit away from him. Because as I was going on that little monologue there, a name like Charles Barkley came to mind, who I think in his all right was certainly a superstar, won MVP trophies, but never won an NBA championship. I guess the debate is what defines a superstar, right? Is it just individual trophies or should we add collective trophies in the mix?
See, the thing is, like, I would argue Charles Barkley was a superstar, but there are levels to like Jordan, LeBron,
Kobe,
Russell, all these guys, they all kind of sit at their own table. And, Barkley still was a superstar, but sits at a different table, I think it's kind of grouped differently, that's all.
It's like, let's keep it in football terms. Griezmann, his infamous words, I sit at the table with Messi and Cristiano.
Yeah, he does.
That was his peak. That was his peak year. Well, with the exception maybe of last season, but that was like peak Antoine
Unless he
Griezmann
was
and
speaking
Atletico
about
before
like
his move.
that one season, maybe he was
Right.
even
Right.
I don't remember what season it was. I think there was one where he was like third in the Ballon d'Or, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to believe
But
that.
you guys have a very special player. Sorry, go.
No, I mean it's great. Like I don't get mad at him for saying that because I think you have to believe in yourself that you are the best, even if it sounds kind of delusional to the rest of us. Like I admire people who really believe that they're the best because you need that kind of mentality. So I don't see inherently anything wrong with him saying that, other than the fact that he is wrong when he says that. But it's fine to believe it. But yeah, I mean, I think when we're talking about the best players in the world right now, at least based on form, I don't see anyone who's been better than Bellingham. I mean, you and I kind of touched on this last podcast. I mean, the only one I can think of like right now in terms of like actual form who is playing at that kind of level is like Harry Kane is doing some amazing things right now at Bayern. But like I mentioned this too on Twitter, like when we're talking about if we fast forward to the Ballon d'Or at the end of 2024. There's a bunch of things we don't know right now, like who wins the Champions League, who's going to win the Euros. It's an international year. That's huge.
Yeah.
We know that Haaland can't possibly win it because he's not in it. We know that Mbappe has a great chance to win it, and that matters. England's pretty damn good. If Bellingham somehow wins the Euro, I think that's pretty much that's a huge thing for him.
Certainly.
And if he wins, I don't know if Real Madrid can win the Champions League this year. I it's really hard for me to see anyone beating City. And he has a good chance to win La Liga and be the Pichichi and go far in the Euros. In the end, I think people like Mbappe and Haaland and Kane or whoever will be there at the end of the finish line, and of course Messi because he breathes air on the earth, so he's going to be there. But I think he definitely is in the conversation right now. Like if the Ballon d'Or was unfairly chosen right now, I think
Messi's done now. Like that's.
There's a Copa America this coming year in Miami. Come on, man! They literally built it for him to win it, so he can win another Ballon d'Or.
And he's back in there. Let's go, Messi.
Come on, man! He is. If he wins Copa America, you don't think he's going to be at the Ballon d'Or next year?
I mean, he should be there every year.
Yeah.
Be happy with what you got. Relax. The Messi trauma that you guys have endured for 2 decades is
there is trauma.
Lingering,
Undoubtedly,
friend,
there's trauma.
Happy.
Undoubtedly,
be happy with what you got. Jude is a fine player and a fine young chap, and you guys can be happy and build on that.
All right.
And you got more stuff coming up, so you have. Let's see. Any Arda Güler news? How's his recovery going?
I don't know, man. I can't speak about him until I see him on the field. I'm kind of. That's another one that it just feels like every time we have a chance to see him, there's a setback. I mean, to the point where we fired our chief medical officer with his wrist injury, right? Nico Mihic,
right.
the Croatian guy. So I think
that's
we're all
solely
just
because
frustrated.
of the Güler case.
No, it wasn't solely. It was the Güler case was the final straw because there was arguments with him. I mean, he didn't want Güler to get surgery, and other doctors wanted him to get surgery. There were disagreements there, but this also goes back. I think there were problems with the Hazard thing, and Benzema had big injuries last year, and apparently there were disagreements there on how to deal with what was happening with Benzema. And there were other cases too. Alaba last season as well. There was constantly kind of like tug and war with him, disagreeing with him. And I think Güler was like, all right, buddy, you're out. And who knows? I mean, I'm not an expert to know if it was actually his fault or not. Maybe it's just bad luck with these injuries. Hazard doesn't take care of himself. Who's going to save him? Like, what are you going to bring in Doctor Strange? Not even Doctor Strange could help Hazard at that point. So I don't know who's at fault or not, but the Güler thing is really frustrating because he's obviously really talented. We just want to see him play. We're just kind of like, oh man, hopefully he can get healthy. That's the biggest thing right now.
No doubt.
No doubt. All right, man. We're going to wrap it here. We'll be back. Diego and I are going to be back Thursday for our beloved patrons over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. Link will be in the show notes. If you've always wanted to ask questions to Diego and I, and Diego knows and all of our patrons know, we take every single question that comes in on Patreon, no matter how controversial it is, no matter how much it's going to break us apart, we answer the question. So if you've been dying, all of these people who talk shit in the comments on YouTube, you want to get us to actually engage with you and respond to you, patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. You can talk all the shit you want within reason, within reason.
Be respectful, please. Be
respectful. Make your shit talking respectful.
The good thing is that those that do join are very respectful.
They are. That's how we filter them out. Yeah. The respectful shit talkers are patrons. And we bring them in and we will entertain them and we will answer the questions and we will be held accountable for what we say on the podcast by them. So join it. You can ask us questions. We do a mailbag every week. So on Wednesday, we'll put out a call for our questions to our patrons over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. We'll go through them and answer them. And that episode is only for patrons. So again, patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. One last time for the cheap seats in the back. Diego, thanks for joining, man. And enjoy the rest of your week. We will chat Thursday, my man. Peace out.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Peace.